Hello everyone, this is the first video of Chapter 8 lecture about popular culture. In this chapter, we're going to talk about four main points. First being discussing why studying about popular culture is important for us, the student of leisure, student of happiness. This is a very important question to answer because sometimes we take pop culture very for granted. Sometimes it's embedded in our life. We don't think about it, right? The type of music we're listening to, type of TV we're watching, for example. And also, it's very important because it's everywhere and we don't think about it. It has a strong influence on us, but we don't really think about it. Then secondly, we're going to talk about some of the key characteristics of pop culture and really defining or, really discerning what popular culture is. It's fuzzy, so we're going to talk about that. And third, we're going to go through some of the major examples of pop culture. And then finally, we will critically examine the role of entertainment. It amuses us, entertains us, it's good, right? It's fun, it's related to happiness, but maybe there's also a problem. That's what we're going to do in this chapter. Now, first of all, why do we care? Why do we have to care about pop culture? What's the importance of it? Here at the top is a definition of pop culture, popular culture from the textbook. It's everyday pastime, like leisure, of the majority of people in a society. It is a leisure for the masses, a lot of people. I'm one of those probably, and probably you're one of those too, one of the quote unquote, the masses in a society. Now, pop culture encompasses the most immediate, right, and pervasive as in like it's everywhere really, and contemporary. It's hot, quote unquote hot. It's hot now. It's trending now. It's really now leisure expression. What we do in terms of leisure. What's tricky is it's not so much defined by its content. It's not about, for example, a certain type of music and genre of music or, the singers and all that kind of stuff. It's not about the content, but rather it's about the typicality, as in how popular it is, right? Really, that's right there in popular, in pop culture, right there in the name. So it's not about, for example, if you look at the pop music, history, there have been different kinds of music, right? And singers, singing styles and all that was popular across times. It changed. But whatever it gains that typical status, popular status, it becomes basically pop culture. Here's, nice picture of all the kind of stuff, and then also actually not everything, that could be considered as pop culture. Really from Pokemon to, cartoon, to some comics, to games, to, well, even McDonald's maybe. There are so many things, of course, music, and there are many things if you go back history, depending on the perspective. But here in this course, in this chapter, we're really talking about some of the contemporary ideas. Now, really, again, the question is, why do we need to study pop culture? What's the importance of it? First of all, right? Because pop culture reflects a society's commonly held values and standards and beliefs about many important things such as beauty, success, love, equality, inequality, justice, and injustice, as well as, I will add, happiness here, right? And to give you some idea, I'm going to use these TV shows as example, and by this point, you know that I love sitcoms, these type of TV shows, and Friends, right? Everybody loves Friends. Most of the people do. So Friends, it happened in the 1990s to early 20s. And the other side, right side, is a picture of How I Met Your Mother. They have a kind of similar storyline, and they consider to be actually How I Met Your Mother didn't, steal the storyline, but sort of like build on to that Friends. So I love How I Met Your Mother, and I hope you watch it too someday if you haven't. But I'm going to focus on Friends here. I'm assuming most of you have watched it, so I'm not ruining it for many people here, okay? And if you actually are keeping it for now, then you can go la da 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 for the next 2 minutes. So in here, in Friends, it's about, young people in a, somewhere in New York City, and then this main character here too. One is the guy in the center, Ross, right? Not really a lot of people likes Ross, but anyway, you will see why. Now, the main female character here is Rachel Green, played by Jennifer Aniston. Everybody loved Jennifer back then. Still, she is a very attractive person. In the center front, okay? So from the first episode, Ross liked Rachel. He thought she's the one, basically, the one, right? The idea that there is one person, right person out there in the world that's, who's made out for you, really great match for you. And you got to marry that person and have happily ever after. Happiness. Speak to relationship, love as well, but happiness. Now, after what, 9 season or 10 season, eventually, and here's a spoiler, they got together. Okay, sorry if I spoil the story, but there's up and downs and twists and all that kind of stuff, so you should watch it. I recommend. Anyway, so now what does that mean? Like, if you watch this Friends, and it was sensational back then, it's still a lot of people keep watching this Friends, and then this really reflects the idea that maybe, especially in North America, this idea of the one, there's the right person. Some people don't believe it, but we know at least this discourse, or just a big level conversation or social norm in a society that about the one, right, the right person, and we try to search that person. You may agree with that, but that norm, that thought. Does that make sense? Represents the commonly held standard. It's pretty common. Some people really seems to believe that too, which is fine. Now, so does that make sense? Friends is kind of example of that, definitely, and especially in terms of happiness and what kind of relationship and love and happiness is good. Now, media, a lot of pop culture are based on a media, like a TV show. It's actually, they are media, and sometimes they're communicated through media, like songs are communicated through media, right? They contain a fund or collection of ideas that inform our daily lives, and sometimes have an impact on us, really strong impact. Sometimes more stronger than family member, your parents or grandparents, right? You would listen to maybe more Rachel Green rather than your mom, maybe. Friends, school, or work. It's really powerful because it's everywhere. It's so popular. Pop culture really delivers the messages that we internalize, instill in our head, and we start to behave or say things, do leisure based on that. So learning about the pop culture critically is to help us to become aware of those influences, strong influences that pop culture have on us, our society, individual as in us, but also society as a whole. Right. And hopefully, if you feel that some of the influences are not so great, and actually we're going to talk about that, they're not necessarily great, then we can stay away from it. But to do so, we have to be aware of the influence first. So that's why it's important to learn pop culture. It's really important. Now go back to the idea about the friends and the one type of happiness and relationship idea. If you can think about it, hey, that's another story of the one in a way. Right? But then if you get aware of it, I don't know necessarily that's a good idea. Maybe there are many people, and then you can work on relationships, and sometimes your chemistry is not perfect, and then the one from the beginning, but you become, a better couple together. Maybe, there's such a thing, maybe you believe that. You started to, think that way. And if you're aware that, hey, maybe friends don't represent that kind of value that I want to, go with, and then you can be critical about it. You can stay away from it. Maybe you don't watch as much. You explore different kind of TV shows and different movies and music that represent different types of relationship, maybe, right? So we have to be critically aware of those influences, hopefully. But if we instill that, we have to find my Rachel Green, then that will impact the way you behave, the way you speak, the way you spend your leisure time. Maybe you study, well, socialize, going out, dating, but trying to find the one, quote unquote. It could impact your behavior and also happiness. So I'm going to stop my first video here, and in the next video, we're going to talk about the 5 main characteristics of pop culture.